Hey, it's Brett with Incredible Getaways. Today, we're going to be talking about what's going on in the cruise world. And with that, let's get started. Hey everybody, it's Brett with Incredible Getaways today, and today we're talking about what's going on in cruise news. And so we've got a lot of really exciting things that we're going to talk about today. One of which we'll start off with is a little something that we got from CNN today. So they released video footage of the Iona, the largest ship ever built in the UK cruise market. And this is a 185,000 ton vessel with 5,200 guest capacity, and it is absolutely insane. This ship measures out at 1,132 feet. Iona is powered by LNG, and so that's liquefied natural gas. It's going to be the first of its kind. It's going to be a very, very clean ship as far as referring to its carbon footprint on the world. And so, wow, it is incredible to see it. This is brought to us by P&O Cruises. And so it, like many other cruise lines, has put a pause on cruising, but that does not mean that they haven't stopped building ships, and that we're not going to be seeing new ships come out, bigger and better ships all the time. And so with that being said, that's a good segue into our friends over at Carnival. Carnival had the Mardi Gras out this week for the second time that it has been tested. So it was just absolutely amazing to see this massive behemoth of a ship that is now ready, cruise ready, that it's been tried and proven in water. So number one thing with a cruise ship is got to be able to float, and so it's definitely going to be able to do that. One of the big things that's going on right now is somehow you were living under a rock and didn't realize it. The no sale order has expired. Yes. With that news being released last week, we found out that the no sale order had been stopped, and so cruising is going to be able to start back up again in the foreseeable future. We do know that we won't be seeing any sailings in 2020 with out of the states anyway. The ships, they're going to be, the different cruise lines are going to be coming together. They're going to be reviewing all of the information that the CDC has given them, saying you can start cruising when you do all these different things, you check off all of these boxes. And so it's just really exciting to be able to see cruising starting up again. And here's the thing, folks, cruise lines are actually looking for volunteers to sail on mock voyages right now. That's right. It's hard to believe that that this would ever be a thing where the cruise lines are literally begging people to come on board so that way they can do these mock voyages to be able to fine-tune their ability to be able to provide the safest experience possible for guests and also be in compliance with the CDC. So they're going to be using a lot of their own crew members that they've called back. This is going to take some time for the cruise giants to be able to get things going again. One of the reasons I think that we're not going to see any of the sailings in 2020 is going to be two parts. One is just being able to get these ships that have sat for months now back into shape. It's not like these cruise ships have been just sitting. They haven't been being utilized. And it's not like that you just go in and you turn the ignition switch and everything just fires right back up. It's going to take a little bit of time, a little bit of preparation to be able to get these ships back on the water. The second part, as you know, the cruise lines, they repatriated a ton of people. They helped them be able to get back to their home countries. They had a lot of layoffs to be able to still be able to stay afloat while there was no revenue coming in. And so there's a lot of different moving pieces. And then plus too, on top of all of that, is if that wasn't going to be challenging enough, we now have these new directives from the CDC that have been handed down to the cruise line saying that you'll have to be able to do these following things. So it's going to be a whole new experience whenever they fire things back up. Even for the most seasoned cruise worker, there's going to be a lot of changes to get used to. So it's really, really amazing to see all of this come together. I am very much relieved to be able to know that we're eventually going to get to go back to cruising at some point. Some of the things, though, right now that may be a little bit more discouraging for a lot of folks is that cruises are canceling in Europe as they're seeing COVID cases spike. One of the biggest things for cruise lines is no one wants to be that cruise line that gets caught with a positive COVID case on board. We haven't seen that yet. We've seen people cruising in Europe. We've seen them be able to do this safely and be able to prove that through testing, through tracing, by following certain guidelines, that they are able to prevent the contraction and spread of COVID-19 while on board, and actually have done it very, very well, done a tremendous job, and a lot better than a lot of other industries that have tried to start back up and have failed miserably. In other news, Key West passed an ordinance over this past week that they will be banning big ships. That's right, you'll no longer be able to go on itineraries out of Orlando or from Tampa with the intent of stopping at Key West. This was a really big surprise for me in a lot of ways. Some ways not so much. There are obviously people in Key West that are in the political realm that for quite some time have been trying to be able to stop cruising in Key West and stop the ships from docking. But with the amount of revenue that the cruise industry brings into Key West, I was really, really surprised to see that actually passed. It's millions and millions of dollars that tourists spend every year just coming off the cruise ship into the port of Key West. What this will do will affect a lot of itineraries. So the cruise lines are going to have to make itinerary changes. One of the good things, I guess, that you could say is the fact that they haven't had any recent itineraries. The kind of downside of it is that they keep producing the itineraries throughout, around a 2.5 year period, some 3 years, some a little bit longer and shorter than others. But a lot of cruise lines are going to have to change their itineraries. How will that affect the cruise industry? It's an interesting thought, interesting concept. Me personally, I've never really cared to go to Key West just on a cruise. It's never been one of the super, top spots that I've wanted to visit. As far as while I'm on a cruise, if I'm getting on a cruise, I want to go to another country. That's part of the reason why I cruise. Why I enjoy cruising so much is to see other parts of the world that I normally wouldn't get to see. I'm in North Carolina, so I'm on the eastern part of the United States. I'm on the East Coast, and so for me, I can drive to Key West if I want to. It's a very long drive from North Carolina down to Key West, but nonetheless, I can get there. I do not have to have a cruise to be able to get to Key West. So it'll be interesting to see how all of that plays out. What do you guys think? you think that we're going to be able to get back to cruising in 2020? There's been a lot of speculation as to what's going to happen there with COVID cases on the rise. I seen an article earlier this week where the U.S. had over 100,000 positive COVID-19 cases, and we're expecting them to go up, as reported by Dr. Fauci, throughout the flu season. So it'll be very, very interesting to see how we fare in this. Royal Caribbean CEO is very excited, though. He is just very positive. He's a wonderful, wonderful man. If you don't know Richard, he's just got a really good, positive energy about him. He always keeps a realistic focus on things, but he also is really, really good about being able to find the silver lining in darkness. This is what he had to say. He said, "This is really a big deal, and we're all very excited about what the future holds for us." He also said it's not the end of the journey, but it's an important milestone on the journey, and it provides a clear pathway for our resumption of service. Boy, it certainly feels good to be able to say that. And so, you know, all of the CEOs I know, all of the folks over at Carnival, at Royal Caribbean, they are all excited about the news of the no sail order being rescinded by the CDC. Even with that call, though, MSC Cruises, Royal Caribbean, Disney, Carnival, all of them have canceled all 2020 sailings. They've all been suspended until 2021. So CLIA also announced a voluntary suspension of 2020 cruises, you know, and so CLIA, you know, kind of being the face and representation of the cruise industry, really kind of laid out the standard protocol there, and which all of the cruise lines had already made the decision prior to CLIA coming out and saying that, yeah, we're going to suspend 2020. So it's good to see everybody on the same page with this. In other news, though, we do see a lawsuit that is going on with Grand Bahama's Paradise Cruise Line. That's right. So apparently Grand Bahama's Paradise Cruise Line, they forced employees, ship crew, to be able to work for 4 or 5 months without pay, and just force them to continue to work on board. There's a lot of ethical issues there. There was a lot of lying and deceit that was given to the crew. The crew was announced that there would be a pay freeze, but that everyone that was working on ship would receive $1,000. And during the meantime, well, that money never came. During this lawsuit, we'd seen that the judge that was presiding over the case threw out the the proposal that was given by Grand Bahama's Paradise to be able to pay and compensate the crew. They said it's nowhere near enough. So there's a lot of talk about Grand Bahama's Paradise going bankrupt. Be interesting to see there. For all of you who are wondering what that splash, splash, splash is, that would be my youngest child that has decided to come in here and crash the video. I am ready for COVID to be over. Killian, you want to come tell all the people hi? Yeah. You want to come say hi? Hi! They can't see you. Here, let's take this. Put that right there. Hi! Say hi to everybody. All right. Go on back in there. Go on to the other room. Go to the living room. Do you hear me? Yeah. Go to the living room. All right. Go see Mommy. Oh, me folks. he is one of the many folks that are excited to see cruising resume again. Even with him, he's 4 years old now. He'll be 5 coming up soon. He loves cruising. Super excited to be able to get back to it. He's asked me multiple times. At this age, they have a hard time understanding the pandemic. How do you explain a global pandemic to a 4-year-old? And so they don't really understand everything that's going on. So besides the normal questions that every parent faces and challenges they face with, why do I have to wear a mask? Why is everybody wearing a mask? Why is nothing open? All of those things. We've also had, when are we going back on the cruise boat again? So, yeah, it is absolutely insane. So I guess that today we're kind of also go over the timeline about how we got here today with the COVID pandemic and with cruising and the cruise industry and how we've progressed through all this. So, this year has been very challenging. For the last 8 months, there has not been any cruising that's been going on in the United States. Cruise lines started to feel the impacts of coronavirus outbreaks late in January and began canceling sailings out of China and Asia and different things. And they began to scrap a lot of itineraries during that time. We started to see that in the cruise industry. Here in the States, it hadn't affected us any whatsoever. In February, as COVID continued to spread across the world, February, we saw the Diamond Princess forced into quarantine as dozens of passengers tested positive for the coronavirus. Holland American's line MS Westerdam was also impacted, with several countries, including the Philippines, Thailand, turning the ships away. It's also during this time that me and my wife went on a cruise to the Bahamas during February. So, it was. We had just went and came back actually the week before that occurred. So it was very unnerving, to say the least. March was a brutal month for the cruise lines and many industries. The U.S. State Department advised citizens to avoid traveling on cruise ships due to the virus. Just days before the COVID-19 outbreak was declared a pandemic, cruising would come to a halt during this because of the issue that the issuing of the no-sail order by the CDC. In April, Saudi Arabia Sovereign Wealth Fund acquired an 8.2% stake in Carnival Corp, and transaction worth approximately $370 million. A few days later, the CDC would extend the no-sail order for 100 days, meaning cruising would not return until July 24th at the earliest. May, with sailing still suspended in May, cruise lines were trying any way that they could to acquire financing and avoid layoffs, but it was inevitable as they began to announce layoffs and furloughs, really just to be able to stay in business. Australia and Canada also extended cruise ships bans into the fall. June, while experiencing a lot of these bans across the globe, we also realized that, let's see here, the U.S. ports would be closed through September 15th. July, Royal Caribbean and Norwegian lines joined forces to develop the Healthy Sail Panel, which I was very excited about. I am really disappointed in our government, specifically the CDC, for not working more closely with the Healthy Sail Panel. This was a panel that was comprised of many experts across many fields in regards to infectious disease and being able to combat the global pandemic. I think that the Healthy Sail Panel putting together and laying out the different types of ways that they would introduce protocols to be able to prevent the spread of COVID. Would have been very useful for many schools, for colleges, for other industries, as nobody else had ever put together a panel like this. Shortly after the Healthy Sail Panel was introduced, the CDC extended the no-sail order again until September 30th. And this was for a 60-day period this time. August began with CLIA members and other major cruise lines announcing the extension of cruise suspension through October, while UNICEF Adventures was forced to cancel its altered Alaska season due to a COVID-19 positive case. We also saw MSC Cruises return to service in the Mediterranean region, which has been very instrumental for us being able to figure out what cruising is going to look like here in the States. Senator Rick Scott and Senator Marco Rubio introduced the Set Sail Safety Act in September with goal of aiding the industry's safe return. Later, CLIA announced mandatory health protocols for the controlled resumption of sailing. The month ended with the CDC again extending the no-sail order, this time for an additional month through October 31st, 2020. While October rolls around, cruise lines began the month of October by scrapping more future sailings. They finally received some positive news, though, at the end of the month, which was just last week, with the CDC announcing that it would allow its no-sail order to expire October 31st. This was a very key decision and being able to phase in cruising. So with that said, this month in November, we're just 1 week in. We did see a lot of things begin to happen, as we've mentioned several times through this, that pretty much everybody has canceled all of their North American sailings through the rest of this year. They have decided that they're going to work and see how they're going to be able to test folks, what kind of testing they're going to provide or mandate for folks that are coming on board to cruise. A lot of different things that they're going to have to figure out, as well as being able to get the ships up and running again. Well, that is all for today that we're going to talk about. I hope that you enjoyed this video as we discussed a lot of what cruising looks like today and the excitement that we have of knowing that cruising is going to be resuming. We've talked about several different things today, from new ships that are coming out that will be released next year in 2021. Until then, you guys, stay positive, stay healthy, and until next time, ciao, baby.